Hey, welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stewart, and today is a special day. We're introducing our new co-host. So we said
Hmm.
goodbye to Dave last week, and we wish him well. He's obviously still a
Yes.
great friend, but excited to announce that Chris Padavana will now be the co-host of the Cycle Jerks Podcast.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm happy to be part of the team, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be hopefully you have as much fun as I've had over the years, and I know Dave was having a lot of fun too.
Some
Um,
some big shoes to fill for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But it's cool getting these people on and hearing their stories, how they got to where they're at and what they do in the industry and whatnot. And I know you've been in the bike industry, geez, probably as long as I have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but let's why don't we? I know you've been on before, but I'd like to start with like your childhood and when you where were you born? Where did you grow up?
So I pretty much grew up in the same area, where I had eaten bicycles. So I was born in Hayward, which is the city next door to Castro Valley.
Yeah.
So for a short period of time, we lived in Fremont. That's where my dad bought his first home. And my dad actually grew up in Castro Valley. So I think it was
Okay.
a town he always wanted to come back to.
Hmm.
My parents were able to buy a home in Castro Valley. And so I was nine, I think I was 9 years old when I moved back to Castro Valley.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's kind of, you know,
So what did your parents do for work?
when I was young, my parents worked for a company called Western Electric. And it was funny. I
Oh.
was just talking to my mom about that. It was like phone assembly line, right? They were making phones for people. And like it was, I never realized you had to actually like lease the phone. Like you didn't own the telephone. Like
Oh,
you keep paying to have the phone. It wasn't your property necessarily in the beginning,
interesting.
yeah, which is baffling, right?
Yeah.
And
And they both worked for the same company?
yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
about that's kind of
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, my dad got the job there first, and then we were latchkey kids, so my
Hmm.
parents both worked, and this was over in San Leandro, so not too far from where we were living at the time was Fremont when they were both working there.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
And how many siblings do you have?
so I have three brothers, so I have one older brother and then two younger brothers that are twins.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh
All
yeah,
these years. How about
yeah.
that?
Well, and
Crazy.
they're not identical twins, but they're yeah. It was so funny because my mom would always dress them like one with blue stripes, the other with red stripes, and yeah, so funny.
Yeah. Is it down do with the twins, do they really finish each other's sentences? And do you feel like, that do you ever notice things like that where
Not really. It's like they were. I think they were both like since they weren't identical twins, they looked differently.
yeah,
Like one
yeah.
maybe had a slightly bigger build, was slightly maybe a bigger head.
Hmm.
At least when they were younger. And no, they didn't do like I've seen other twins, that are more identical that could finish their sentences. But
Yeah.
my brothers John and Mike, they weren't necessarily like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is your mom and dad still in Castro Valley, or are they still alive, or how's all that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my parents, um, so they ended up retiring and moving up to Sonora.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's when I bought my first home, my second home actually, because I bought my childhood home from my parents. My dad was moving, so we saw it as an opportunity. There's a Prop 13 where you can pass down your property tax rate one time
Right.
to a family member. So we were like, we have to buy this home. It's if nothing else for that property tax rate.
Sure.
Such a good deal. But yeah, my parents moved to Sonora and they retired up there, and so they're still living in that area, but not necessarily in Sonora. But
Okay. And then how about your siblings?
so my older brother lives in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his name is Paul. His job took him to Michigan, so he and his family moved to Michigan, and he's 2 years older than me. And then my younger
What?
brothers,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry. What does Paul do?
he just got laid off. Actually, he was working for what was the company called? It was like a Clorox or something like that, or
Oh, okay.
some kind of chemical company.
Dang it.
And their operation moved from Hayward to Michigan. So
Dang. So he moves from his hometown to Michigan, and then he gets laid off. How long was he in Michigan?
he's been there for maybe 5 or 6 years now.
Okay, so it wasn't like they'd made him move and then cut the cord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I
Huh.
think they're happy there. It's, cost of living is so much better, and
Right.
they're able to do so much more than they could here. They couldn't afford as much here, and
Yeah,
they can, definitely put themselves in a better position there.
got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then so I have two younger brothers. So my brother John, he's actually works for Hayward Police Department, so he's getting close to retirement there. So he's
Wow.
part of that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
my other his brother or my brother Mike, he passed away sadly in 2020. So yeah,
2020. And what
so
did he do?
he was in the Navy when he was out of high school, and then so he did his 4 years there, traveled all over the world, um, worked on the USS Enterprise, which was
Oh,
really
no
cool.
kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I see
Yeah.
cool pictures of that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so he traveled all over, and then he was just doing some auto mechanic work. He's really good, with his hands, really like fixing. He helped my dad um, refinish a '57 Chevy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was just
Wow.
all, so my dad would show it at car shows, and so my brother Mike was pretty instrumental in helping him get that thing dialed in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, did he see active duty on the Enterprise?
I don't think they saw any active duty during his
Okay.
tours. Yeah,
Do you know what that ship is they have it in Alameda that you can tour? You
gosh, I don't, not off the
It's
top
like
of
a
my head.
destroyer. I
Yeah,
feel like it's the destroyer, maybe. Maybe that's a name or maybe that's a type. I'm so naive. I don't know anything about this stuff, but we did a tour like a long time ago. Have you ever been inside one of those things?
no, no, I heard it's crazy though.
It is wild. Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
really narrow, steep staircases, down
Yeah.
some levels, and
They took us into the engine room, which is in the belly of the boat, and they were saying um, that they had to run these as you walk through, you had to like swing this thing to make sure that there was no vapor, because if the vapor was coming out, it would just cut off your arm
oh,
or
no
whatever.
kidding.
Yeah, so you had to
Wow.
swing this thing as you went through there to make sure that the vapor wasn't, because you can't see it, I guess. And yeah, all kinds of crazy things about that ship. It was really interesting. um
I know you can do like overnights on that ship.
yeah.
I know my son was in the Boy Scouts and they did an overnight trip. My wife and him did like slept on the boat overnight. It's supposed to be kind of haunted, or
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Right, crazy.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no thanks.
I'll take a comfortable bed. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're saying your younger brother's a police officer and uh and he's ready to retire?
Yeah, I think he's like within 4 years or so of retiring. So
Damn, man.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
been there a while, but
That's great. That's great. He's gonna be able to retire at a young age, where he's still able to get around and do stuff.
yeah, because he'll be in his early 50s at that point. So yeah, yeah, he's definitely well, it's a that's a tough job, man. It's like it's the job you need to get done, but no one really loves it. Or, not many people seem to love police officers, or, at least in that
It's
area.
Yeah, it is so strange. The concept of defund the police, and the negative. I mean, we've seen the effects of it, with these
Sure.
police forces, and like there's certain parts now of the Bay Area I don't even go to anymore because I mean,
It's just out of hand.
sad. It's just sad. It's really
Yeah.
sad, and we need police. And
Right.
and that's not to say obviously there's police brutality and there's some awful shit that gets done by certain police officers, but uh, this notion of defunding is just insane. That doesn't make any sense. I think if
Well,
anything, we need more money for the police so that you can get better training
Right.
And, I think even like I was listening to, I forget, I think it was this guy, Mike Baker, is a former CIA guy. But he was saying that he believes that police officers they should work 4 days a week and then they should train one full day a week. And the training should be varied. Should be, whether it be physical training where you learn a skill like jujitsu or something so you can de-escalate a physical situation without uh, harming somebody, or psychology. There's all kinds of different things that where if you were getting that training 8 hours a week every single week, you'd be a far more you'd be a more effective law enforcement peacekeeper.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, those guys, I mean, they see the worst of the worst all day. I mean, you think about your job, right? It's like,
yeah,
the day you had a bad day, maybe you were had a couple bad retail, like for you, like if you were dealing with a couple bad retailers or your boss, there's some stuff happening at work,
yeah,
like, right? It's like that worst day, you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next day to be better. It's like those guys,
yeah,
they just see that every day, man. So I just think they would probably need some kind of help dealing with that.
yeah,
Your perspective is just always the shit, like the worst of the worst of the worst, and people
yeah,
that don't like you. So yeah, it's funny because like we'll get together for families, family gatherings, and I'm always curious about his job, but
right.
then I hate to have him just like bring up all this like shit,
Right, turns into a therapy session, right?
Right. But I'm like, this is exciting. Like what's
Right,
happening, but he's just, kind of dumping all this crap. And so I try not to like ask him too much about his job,
right.
but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know my son, before he got on with Giant, he was kind of looking at maybe, you know, f- trying to become a fireman. And so one of my buddies is fireman, and he did some traveling with him, work experience. And he just was so, after the first night, he's just like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
what? Why? What happened? And he goes, oh, we just had all these calls with like these people that are drugged out, and they're just creating disturbances. They started a fire in a dumpster, or, there's guys
Right.
with bums, and you have to pick these people up off the street, and they're just, some cases they, you know, like the one he dealt with had crapped himself,
Yeah.
and you know
Right.
what I mean? It's just like you're just dealing with like, yeah, you think about a fireman's like, okay, well, there's a fire. I'm gonna go,
Yeah.
put out the fire, but that's such a small part of their role.
Right. It's a
They're,
lot of medical calls and things like that.
yeah,
The stuff that's not very glamorous and that really takes someone who cares,
mm-hmm,
You have to really, I mean, both of those jobs, you really have to care, or
agreed.
yeah, just see that kind of stuff, It's just
Yeah,
not
to be willing to even go on scene, to even have the
right.
desire to go on scene. And I was really, when my friend offered to take my son on that ride along, I was like, oh yeah, cool. That'd be a good opportunity. And I talked to him a little bit beforehand, but I didn't realize how much of that stuff they did. I thought that was mostly law enforcement, but
Right,
the fire
right.
department ends up doing a lot of it because law enforcement's got bigger issues to deal with than,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
that's tough.
Kudos to firemen and
Public
police officers.
service.
Yeah. Public
Yes.
service. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So all this is happening, and then you're not interested in law enforcement or whatever. You got the bicycle bug. When
Yeah. Oh,
did
yeah.
when did that happen?
Um, So, I'd always been it was interesting. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like I'd always been on a bike, right? Like, I remember like being like 9 or 10 and having a paper route, right? It's like fully underage, just had the Huffy, you know,
Uh,
paper bar, the bags on your handlebar for your paper route, riding around. And
yep.
so just always on a bike, right? And we always had piece of shit bikes, right? Because
Oh
we didn't
yeah.
have a lot of money. My parents had a lot of money, and
Yeah.
whatever, you didn't care. So, always on a bike at that point. But I think really I was like 15 years old by the time I really got introduced to 15, yeah, 15 or 16 when I got introduced to road cycling. And I think like a lot of folks we talked about before, baseball, like, kind of the mainstream sports, easy to gravitate to. And I was doing baseball and I was successful at that too. I think I was fairly good. And I was on a high school varsity team like when I was 15,
Oh,
for their winter ball team, I should say. So I was like that first year as a freshman. And yeah, I got introduced to the road bike, and man, just the feeling that you get after a hard, those endorphins that get released after a hard effort on the bike, right?
yeah,
You just don't feel that in any of those other sports because the efforts aren't that long in length, in time. So on the road bike, you know, half an hour of just like intense effort, the wind blowing through your hair and things going by fast, the sense of accomplishment is just unmatched, with these
yeah,
sports. I mean, baseball, football, they're all great sports, and I'm sure there's highs for those people, but cycling was one of those ones you could really accomplish on your own. It
hmm
really makes a
yeah.
so
Yeah, it is interesting in that regard. I hadn't really thought about that because there are definitely like, if you think about baseball, you get up in a clutch situation and you hit you smack a little dribbler down the first base line and it goes through, and then the running run scores or whatever, or you hit a home run. There's all kinds of scenarios where you can, you know, maybe similar achieve a similar feeling, but you're not in control of it. Whereas on the bike, you get out, yeah, you got a pretty good sun
I know.
sunlight
I'm
going through
sorry about
there.
that. I'm gonna
Um,
close this real quick. Sorry.
yeah, uh, there you go. But on the bike, you can kind of have that experience, a similar type of experience in terms of endorphins and whatnot, just by going out and riding your bike and pushing yourself. Um, yeah, so yeah, the bike's really unique in that way. I hadn't really thought about it like that. But I grew up playing ball sports too, and I love baseball. I still love baseball and
Yeah,
basketball. I played all, I was into it.
right.
But yeah, cycling does deliver something a little bit different for
Yeah,
sure.
it's just something you can really dig. You have much more control of um of what happens, the rewards of your efforts, right? With like baseball or things like that. There's so many other variables going around, right? It's like
Yeah.
if you're looking at your batting, right, it's how the pitcher and how he's throwing, and
Yeah.
but
Plus in baseball, you're Hall of Fame if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you
right.
know? So it's like, it's hard. Baseball's like a mental, it's a mental deal. You could say the same about cycling or any other sport probably, but yeah, there's a lot of failure that comes with baseball.
Right, yeah.
Um,
But cycling,
but
it's like, you have to learn, like learning, like you learn a lot about yourself, and not just, you learn not just about like you and riding your bike, but I think you learn a lot about like how you can go inside of yourself and push yourself, and
mhm,
what you can really get out of it. Which is great. And then the other aspect that I think I really enjoyed a lot is racing. Like,
mhm.
it's like you can be a good cyclist and, hone your skill and, become more powerful. But learning how to race your bike is just like a totally different thing. It's like there's a lot
Yeah,
of good guys who are fast on the bike who could probably beat me on a training ride, but I could beat them in a race because, you have to learn how to race your bike. You have to learn how to read the course and read the riders, and, know how to
yeah,
gauge your efforts. And
yeah. Tactics, I mean, yeah, there's been so many times where I've just blown it with just bad tactics,
right.
and then, there's other times where it all comes together and it works out. We're just getting ready to start rodeo cross. So
Yeah.
yeah, rodeo cross starts Wednesday.
No, oh, is it
And
Wednesday?
yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah, and I've got a new TCX. So last year I did rodeo cross on my gravel bike. The last 2 years I've done it on a gravel bike, but this year I'm going to actually have a proper cross bike.
Yeah, a little more
So
aggressive.
yeah, looking forward to that.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I definitely want to hit those up, but I think we're leaving Thursday morning for Oregon. So
Oh, okay. Well, they're Wednesday nights, every Wednesday through October. I think it might, yeah, because they usually, the last one's like the Thursday before or after Halloween. And that's, I mean, if you're going to hit one, that's the fun one, right? Where
Yeah.
everybody dresses up and it's just, it's always a party, rodeo cross, but the Halloween one obviously just gets super wild. It's so fun.
Nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, I look forward to it because I don't really do a ton of racing like I occasionally a gravel race or something, but with when rodeo cross comes around, it's like, oh, I'm gonna try to hit all the rodeo cross ones.
Is it just the atmosphere? I mean, I know the Halloween one, it's like kind of like a party,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
what's the atmosphere like at Rodeo Cross?
It's yeah, it's like a party. It's so they have this thing called Heckle Hollow, and it's like they have a DJ in there, and they have people bring kegs and stuff. I mean, it's just there's hand ups. Everybody, it's just but it's so wild going into Heckle Hollow, and then also they make the course different each week, and
Wow.
and the courses are super fun and they're challenging. And the gal Asa Shoemaker, we've had her on the podcast, and she does the courses each week. And
Nice.
yeah, anyway, it's cool. It's a labor of love, but
Yeah.
the thing that makes it what it is, I mean, because cyclocross is just it's a pretty fun thing to do in general,
Right.
but the atmosphere there, and like both Frank and Asa are the two behind rodeo cross, and they both say they didn't really have a whole lot to do with that was just a community. It just
Right.
kind of happened organically, and now it's like got a whole it's like a thing in and of itself. Heckle Hollow is like a crazy thing, and
Right.
like I see a lot of bike people there that aren't there to ride. They just go to hang out with all their friends and slam
Yeah.
beers and talk crazy shit as you ride through.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. Yeah.
Well,
So
it feels like cross has always been like that. Was for me, it was like the precursor to mountain biking, right? I mean, people
mhm,
were mountain biking, but like I remember going, I did my first cross race in '88, and I had like
mhm.
this is like I was on a stump jumper, no suspension fork. This is pre-suspension,
Yep.
and I just remember the atmosphere was like just like super. It was like super cool. Everyone was super friendly.
Yeah.
People were smoking weed or drinking
All
beer.
right.
It was kind of that. It was just kind of more, more relaxed
Yeah,
versus at a road scene, road racing,
I don't think
a
anybody
racing.
really took it serious in this country to begin with, right? It was more like, hey, this is another thing I can do on a bike that's just kind of fun. And
Right,
if you're racing road tends to get pretty ramped up, and you could say that about mountain biking now too. I mean, you're going to try to race XC at Sea Otter, man.
oh really,
Good luck. You got to be elite to be competitive in XC. And it's like people get really locked into their disciplines, and then they get really serious about it. Whereas cross is, I don't know that anybody's really, I mean, there are exceptions, obviously, because we do have some really high level cross kids and
right,
cross athletes in the US, but it's not like road, where every town's got some Cat 1 or pro level road
right,
racer. Yeah, I just feel like people go to cross as an outlet. It's fun. A lot of times, especially if you're a road person, your skills don't necessarily translate to a cross bike all that well.
right.
And so it's you can kind of laugh at yourself a little bit sometimes. You get into these situations where you got to hop off your bike and then you hop on. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
that didn't go well. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the vibe is pretty unique. And I think
Yeah.
gravel had that for a while, but also now gravel's just getting super serious.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
some of the videos where it's pretty intense. It's like that level of like road racing. When you get to that upper level, it's just everyone's super serious, and which is fine. It's great. People are trying to push themselves, but
right,
you
right.
kind of lose
Sometimes
that
it's
maybe party atmosphere, or I don't want to say party, but just kind of a more relaxed atmosphere.
yeah,
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah, we used to when I was like this is in '88, so a guy on my team, his name is Kevin Merrigan, and his son Andrew used to work for
yeah,
us.
yeah.
And Kevin, rode in the A's and cross, and eventually went and did. I think he did the Worlds a couple of times. It's
Hmm.
back in like the early '90s.
Okay.
So it was interesting to be ride with him on the road, uh, and then when you see him on the cross bike, man, like that level of cross rider, so seamless, so smooth. It's
Yeah.
amazing to watch that level of rider dismount mountain, jumping over obstacles. You're just what?
Right. Yeah, there's a guy on, so we sponsor the Enjoy cycling team in Sacramento. And there's a guy, there's a couple guys on the team, Cody Kaiser and Jeremy Ferguson. And both these guys have raced cross in Europe. They grew up racing cross. And anyway, so last year at Rodeo Cross, I'm riding like the 35 Bs, you know, and I'm having just a great go. I'm feeling amazing on the bike. I'm going so fast. I feel like I've never ridden this fast on this course, and there's this one little spiral circle of doom thing, and I'm just nailing every corner. I just feeling so good about myself. And then all of a sudden I hear like somebody behind me, and I was like, I look over my shoulder and it's Jeremy. I was like, oh damn. And so like but I'm like I said, I'm having this sensation like I'm just like having one of those nights where everything's going right. And I was off the front in my group, way off the front. Well, anyway, so Jeremy ultimately he passes me, and then like to your point, it was just like it's just so smooth and effortless.
Right,
Like it was almost like the volume on a like he just ratchets up the speed and then dials it down, ratchets it up, dials it down. Like he's never hitting the brakes. He's not doing any of that stuff. He's
right,
just like full, I don't know, flow state, whatever you want to call it. But
right.
yeah, it was really humbling because there's times where I've been at rodeo cross and I just feel like I'm doing everything wrong. And it's like, oh man, that was terrible. This sucks. I'm just working way too hard and not getting, but that wasn't one of those times. And then to get passed by somebody like that, it's like, oh yeah, there's definitely levels to the game.
Yeah, yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I think at any elite level, you just see that. I remember spectating, watching like Cat 1-2 races and watching those guys. They would just, it's like flowing water, man. Just the way they would attack or
Hmm.
set up returns, and you looked so forward to like being at that level, and then finally, eventually, I was able to race at that level, and just to be a part of that, you're just like, man, it's
Yeah.
such a great feeling to have accomplished. You know, Going from a lower category to like the highest category you can go to besides being a professional cyclist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That must be amazing. I wouldn't know. Never hit cat one, didn't hit cat two either. So yeah. But yeah, and yeah, it is it's inspiring, certainly. But so okay, so racing was a big part of you and the bicycle. When did you start looking at the bike industry as like were you when you were racing, did you start working at the bike shop to kind of fund the racing, or when did you first started working at the bike shop?
So I started working in, I think, 87, maybe 88. And it's just because, at that age, you just, when you get into a sport, or especially a new sport, or something so different at the time, like cycling, you just engulf yourself in it, right? Everything is about
Yeah.
the bike, right? It's like, that's all your friends, that's all you do, that's all you talk about. I mean, any new cyclist, you see that all the time, even in, as you see customers coming into your bike shop, they're just fully engaged in it. And
Right.
so that was just an easy thing to do. It's like, well, I want to work in the bike shop, but it didn't pay very well at all.
Yeah.
So I think I did leave the bike shop for a little bit to go work at, I ended up making more money at Sizzler.
Sizzler.
That's how I funded my first road bike. I think it was like a $3,000 Dura-Ace equipped road bike, and
Oh
yeah,
man,
it was all
nice.
Sizzler,
Had to go to
right?
Sizzler to get your good road bike.
Right?
Uh, but if, we had a Sizzler in town here, and I was working at the bike shop, so I was on this trip where I was going and having their minestrone soup all the time. So one day I get the minestrone soup and there's a cricket in it.
Oh,
So I took it up to the counter. I go, "Hey, there's a cricket in my soup." And the guy's all, "We didn't it, we didn't put it in there." And I'm like, "I don't know who put it in there. I'm not saying you put it in there. I'm just saying there's a cricket in my soup." And I go, "Can I get my money back?" And the guy's all, "Yeah, no." I was just like,
Oh,
"Okay, okay. I guess I'm not coming back here anymore."
right.
Sizzler. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You
but
don't want to know what goes on in Sizzler. So,
oh, geez. So I think that's probably a lot of restaurants, you know?
yeah. Don't even think about it.
Right.
Just eat your food. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah. So that's where I started working in a bike shop, 87, Castro Valley Cyclery,
Hmm.
still bike shop still around. And, yeah, it was just like this really cool group of guys that were older than I was. They were like 21, 22. So, on
Hmm.
the weekend we meet up for a bike ride, and they're like talking about clubbing the night before. It's so awesome.
Uh,
So awesome.
yeah. Well, that's cool. And then, like, I met you about 10 years later, I think. Maybe, maybe 8 or 9 years later, because I started at Cannondale in 97. So, probably like 95 was like the beginning of my outside rep career, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I remember that. Yeah. You were working for Gary Forsberg, and I was
Yes.
managing Bicycle USA at the
Hmm.
time,
Right.
Castro Valley.
And what was it? Was it Jim Powell? Is that the guy?
Jim Farrell.
Jim Farrell. Okay.
Yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Farrell. Yeah. Yeah. And so did you know him? I mean, what was your relationship like with him?
He was always really nice to me because he owned Castro Valley Cyclery at the time
Hmm.
when I was working there.
Oh, he did.
Uh, yeah, so then he sold it to John Kozlowski, who's obviously he's still the current owner,
Yeah.
Castro Valley Cyclery, and then when John moved his store across town, he bought in a building across town, which was a great move. And
Hmm.
but Jim and my friend Eric, who had Bicycle USA established in Newark, California, were like,
Okay.
they're like, we'll just reopen it. So like 2 weeks later, after John was gone, they just reopened the store and started
Oh,
Bicycle USA.
so the Bicycle USA where I met you, that
Mm-hmm.
location was Castro Valley Cyclery
Was
before?
cast, yeah, since like
Oh,
1982. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Interesting.
was kind of a cheeky move, but
Hey, Pacific Bikes, Dave Bekovich,
yeah.
right? Our old
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
That was one of his moves. That
Oh,
was like he would always look for a shop and oh, if somebody's going out of business, maybe I can slide, I think at one time he had 13 stores, he was very aggressively opening stores and it
right.
was a lot of times it was going right into a previous retailer.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
remember meeting Dave. I had a really good conversation with Dave at one of our first giant events. The one we had one in Universal City, I think. It
mhm,
was like one of those big giant events. The
okay.
guy was talking all about the BMX bikes and stuff.
Oh, 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 wait a minute. Are you talking about the one at Pepperdine?
No, it was at not Universal City. It was God, it was the first giant event. I can't remember, or at least the first one I'd been to. And that one cat was just like talking about BMX days with Skip Hess, and it's just like,
Yes.
what are we listening
Yes.
to?
Oh,
It's like, dude, we're here for business. Everyone took time off from work to travel, and he's just reminiscing
yeah.
about the good old days, which is
All
fine,
right.
but not in that context, or not there at least.
Exactly. Especially because he was up there to like really showcase Giants' new marketing.
Right.
And then, yeah, man, that was a rough one.
But
Yeah.
I met Dave, and Dave was always super cool to me, and that's where I
Yeah.
kind of established my friendship with Dave. But I remember talking to him about we were kind of contemplating moving or growing the store. And
Hmm.
he's just like, how much are you doing every year? So I told him the number, and he's like, you're doing that kind of number. He's like, and what's your square footage? We were
Right.
like, I think we were like 1,400 square feet. And he's just like, no, don't move.
Yeah, Dave was it's kind of ironic because Dave was definitely he was so smart when it came to business and very shrewd. and I have a ton of respect for him. But he was like the stores were very conservative, and he was like keeping the overhead low.
Right.
Was he was really good at negotiating leases and keeping his costs. But then he goes into San Francisco and just goes for it.
Right.
With that, it was I think it was 14,000 square feet.
Oh, that one location. Yeah.
Yeah, with the two stories, and you know, two stories is always super challenging getting people to go upstairs. And he had this narrow stairway, and he was trying to encourage, there was like arrows and hey, more up here, and but people still weren't going up there. And then he took the stairway out, opened the floor up of the second deck, and then put like this really wide staircase, this big money. Like I said, he really went for it with that San Francisco location, and
Yeah.
it
Well,
was it was really cool.
yeah, no, it was super cool. But I mean, like they must have imploded, right? Because then his partner Dave opened up River City.
Yeah, well, this was after Dave left for River City.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's yeah. He's Dave and Dave is confusing.
right.
Gettler left for River City, and Vekovich stayed and kind of consolidated a lot of the locations, and then he just got down to the one location, and then
Got
that's
it.
when he went all in on that location.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, but yeah, uh, but yeah, very shrewd guy, and yeah, it's unfortunate that he's not in the industry anymore. I miss that guy's.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, he's a good man. I definitely like Dave. But
yeah,
yeah, so I met Dave when we had yeah, that's when I had owned the store. But anyway, I was working for Jim Farrell, and Jim with Bicycle USA was, absentee owner, because he lived near the Newark store. So him and my friend Eric were just kind of running that, and they're just like, "Hey, you want to run this store?" And I'm just like, "Sure." I
yeah,
don't know what I'm doing, but
yeah,
and I think they knew I was just a hard worker, right? Like I could just put
yeah.
my
He'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah,
Stick him
totally.
over there. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
knew the people. I knew that, I grew up, I lived down the street, and, so it was easy.
yeah, yeah. Cool. And then, so I think the story's kind of unique or interesting because you had an opportunity to buy it, and then it was like, yeah, I don't want to buy it. Or
Well, it's just
I don't
like
know.
he was, well, I mean, definitely was good that I didn't buy it because I was definitely too young and I would have tanked it for sure.
Yeah.
And but they were we couldn't agree on the price. It kept changing as he was trying to sell it, and so I
Yep.
was just like, forget it, I'm out. I probably more scared than anything too at that point.
Sure. Yeah. It's a
And
big leap of faith.
yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
huge, and I didn't know anything then, and I probably still don't now, but.
Well, I always think you had like a pretty, because I always say, like, if somebody wants to learn about the bike business, they should come travel with me, and go visit, travel with me for a week, and you'll meet a bunch of different types of you'll see every type of operation, different types of owners, and it's really it's an education on how you can do it. Maybe, if you could pull like best practices from here and best practices from there, and then
Yeah,
from here, and then you can lump them all and make your own bike shop. And I feel like you kind of did that because after you decided not to buy Bicycles USA, you kind of went on this crusade where you're floating from shop to shop to shop, and some really great shops with great owners. And
yes.
yeah, so I'm sure that probably had a lot to do with how you were able to build that confidence and then ultimately buy a shop and take it to the level.
Yeah, it definitely made me feel like I knew more, and you're right, I worked with a bunch of just like great, great retailers, and retailers that maybe I didn't necessarily agree with,
Hmm.
at the time.
Yeah,
But over time you could look back at them and go, yeah, those guys, those people, were super solid. And um, yeah, I mean, it's just like there's no real right way to run your business. It's just
right.
you have to figure your way of doing it and your market, like to Dave's credit, right? The way he was how he ran his business model and, negotiated his lease, and, Chris Robinson, the way he runs his operation.
Right,
You may not agree with it, but these are all very successful bike retailers who've been doing it for, decades. So, how can it be wrong?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you can you want to build it in your own image, right? There's, you have this idea about what you want your shop to be.
Right.
But then also you can take elements of this other shop, like maybe you don't agree with any, or maybe you don't agree with most of what they do, but they have three things that they do really well. And that you can incorporate just those things into your operation, and just you know, keep tweaking it to where you can make, because some of those things are less exciting, less fun, but they generate profit. And
Right.
so that's really, and also I remember talking to you one time about you were going, Giant had this affiliation with the Biking Solution, which is like a retail services operation. And I think you said one time, it's like, yeah, I go to these meetings and it's like, I just feel like if I can get one thing, and at the time it was like, I think Kevin Chudy from Bike and Hike had this no flat guarantee. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so just that one thing, right? You bring that back and you integrate that into your operation and, it nets, whatever it was, I think you said
Oh,
first year it was like 6 grand profit.
yeah. It was, yeah, hugely successful, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Yep.
think you have to look at these different retailers, and I think, it's like, you can grab important things from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can also go, I don't want to do that. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
steer clear of that, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So bad or good, you have to appreciate everybody for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, so let's kind of run through some of the people you work for. So I'm going to go off memory, see if I'll probably get it wrong, but let me just see. So there was Cyclepath.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
There was,
Schwangs,
yeah.
which are
Rob.
that's closed.
Oh, did it close?
Cyclepath is closed in Hayward. Yeah.
How about that? Wow.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with that building.
Yeah, because the Schwangs own that building, which is it's a
Yeah.
for people to know, it's a 10,000 square foot building, and then there's another level below that's 10,000 feet, and I think they have the 3,000 feet above.
Above. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's a terrific building. I
yeah.
mean,
It's a lot
could
of
really be
potential
something.
for sure.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they closed. But okay, so Cyclepath, Robinson Wheel Works,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, Cycle Sport,
Thierry, yeah,
yep, and then Livermore Cyclery.
yeah. With the Howards twice.
Mm-hmm.
Worked with them
And
twice.
what am I forgetting?
I spent a day at California Peddler,
Okay, one day.
and that was an operation where it's like, I don't
It's
like
a, it's a wrap. I'm out of here.
this.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I worked at Backroads in Berkeley for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I was
Did you
just
work with Randy Blades?
I worked with Randy at it. I think he was working at Cycle
He
Sports.
was at Cycle Sports for a
Yeah, I
while.
worked with him
Yeah.
there, but not at Backroads. Like, it was pre Randy, because I think I worked at Backroads in like early 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. A
Yeah.
friend of mine, Gary Seagrapes, was working there. So
Oh,
yeah.
Randy's a good dude. He's now an electrician.
Oh,
Yeah, left the bike biz.
yeah, yeah.
Dang it. We lose
Yeah.
him. We lose a lot of people.
Yeah, no, he was good.
But
Um,
yeah, that's quite a collection of owners, though. I mean, you think Terry, you know, Miss Howard's,
yeah,
obviously they ran 3 stores, great, great owners. Um, you got Chris Robinson,
yeah,
who's a very shrewd business guy and runs a tight ship there.
yeah.
And then you got the Schwangs in their heyday.
Right.
Pat was, I mean, she's so charismatic. She was really something, and unusual.
Yeah,
But again, those are all opportunities to kind of
yeah,
grab the successful stuff and try to integrate it and make it. Yeah, I do feel like Eden was uniquely Eden.
yeah,
I don't. it's not like you could look at it and go, oh, well, right, that's just what Livermore Cyclery does. There was never anything like that I ever felt, and I know all the accounts that you worked at. So,
Yeah.
whatever you did take, you just kind of presented it as yourself, and yeah, it was a great. I mean, obviously, it's a great shop.
Yeah. Well, and I feel
Yeah.
like I grabbed a lot from, I mean, I think I probably implemented a lot of different things from all of those different outfits into my
Mm-hmm.
own store,
Right.
because we, I wanted to be this high-end boutique store like Chris Robinson and maybe like a little bit of cycle sports,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we're also in a family neighborhood, so I had to accommodate, families, right? And
Yep.
so, I wanted to be as good as I could for a lot of different customers.
Yep.
So it was definitely a balancing act, to do that. But I mean, I appreciate all the people that I worked for, and they all kind of helped, in some way contribute to
Yeah.
our success.
Yeah. I do feel like those are the most successful stores, though. Like if you have the ability to sell high end, that's a unique ability. Not every shop has that. As a
Right,
matter of fact, most shops don't really.
right,
They kind of focus on the meat of the market, but having the ability to do the high end and then also be a family shop, I mean,
right.
it's a real asset to the community, at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you have your cycling community, right? And then you've got your just your family community, right? And so
Yeah.
I think if you can sell nicer bikes, you can really establish yourself in the cycling community, which I felt like we had done. Like especially stepping back, you can hear people talking about the store, even from far away. So,
Yeah. I
uh,
still see the kits out there all the time.
yeah, that's right, baby.
Yeah.
The legend
Yeah.
lives.
So hopefully they're carrying on that tradition on some level, uh, at the Trek Castro Valley.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's got to be interesting for your customers, because it was a wholesale change of inventory. And you know, I mean, people get, I mean, not everybody's brand loyal, most
Right.
people aren't, but sometimes people get locked in and then they got their shop that they love, and then the shop sells the brand that they love. And then
Right.
so it's just this repeating cycle where it's like, okay, well, it's time to
Yeah.
get a new bike. Let me go see Chris. I'm gonna get a new, you know, Giant or Specialized or whatever, Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
But now all that stuff's gone,
Right.
and so it's interesting how, uh, yeah, I wonder what it's like. I would like to get Cover on here and talk to her because she's seen it all, and
Yeah, she has seen it all. But
yeah.
it's interesting. Like I'll look back on like social media
Hmm.
and at old stuff or even new stuff. And it's man, it is so rewarding to see like the community of people, the community that we built and the friendships that got established during our tenure and that they're still going today. Like I still see groups of people that met, through our store that
Yeah.
are still riding together, that are still like wearing our divas, right? They still wearing their
Right.
kits, and I see them go on group rides, and you just
Yep.
it's such a, it's it's so
Right.
rewarding to see that, right?
Yeah. You've added something really special to their life,
Yeah,
and
yeah. That's I
yeah.
mean, so that's I think helped when we walked away. It was like we did. I think we set out to do it, to do a job. We did a good. I felt like we did a good job, and we were able to walk away and feel good about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, we've mentioned it before, but obviously sold the store to Trek, then you retire, semi-retire. Um, and so what was there any type of, challenge, just like once, I mean, because you're grinding every single day as a retailer, and then all of a sudden it's just like, poof, okay, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It was, it's funny. Like I've heard stories of people who were retiring, and like I said, I'm not fully retired, but was able to just, take a year off essentially.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was very difficult. It's super, I mean, maybe some people can do it better, but like I had a hard time because I'm just kind of a person that needs to be busy. And when you fall into a rut of no schedule,
Right.
what do I do next? It's kind of whatever you want to do next. It's not very, it wasn't, it was it was challenging too. I
Yeah,
definitely had some mental moments, where I had to kind of struggle through, how do I reestablish myself?
right. I could see losing that structure. It'd be real easy just to get lost in all the nonsense that's available to us nowadays.
Yeah,
And is really addictive, whether it be social media or YouTube or whatever, you
right.
can get lost in these things pretty easily, especially if you don't have anywhere to go or anybody to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was probably definitely a workaholic for sure,
Hmm. Right.
But
I feel that way too.
yeah, I mean, but I
Yeah.
feel like you had, it's almost like the job, that's what the job required, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I always felt like if I ever do retire, it's looking questionable now. But I always felt like I'd still be working, but I'd be doing stuff that I wanted to do, whether it be building a car or, you know, doing, I don't know, who knows what, I always thought
right,
I'd be building cars in my retirement, but I don't know that's not really that interesting to me right now.
right,
And so I don't know what it would be, but I would still be working. I would just be maybe in my yard or garden or,
right,
building stuff. I mean, I just can't ever see myself just like not
sure.
grinding away on something.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I think it's hard because you don't, like for me at least, I didn't have anything. I wasn't doing anything else. So I wasn't really good at doing anything else. So like when we sold the shop and we moved to Nevada City, it was like, yeah, I want to do some woodworking, but it's like taking that leap of like learning how to work, with wood, which, I'm sure I
Yeah.
could figure it out, but it was just like, I don't know how to do that. Like, or even just gardening, right? It was like, I'm going to garden this year. I was trying
Uh-huh.
to research a little bit. I don't know, Moles. Fuck it. I'm just gonna start. So
Right.
you just start. But it took a while, right? It just took a while to figure out what am I gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, man. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we talked about your family, growing up, but you have another family now, right? So when did you meet, your wife, Erin, and how did you guys meet?
So I met Erin, my wife, in '95, and we met at a Bobby McGee's
Nice.
on
Nice.
St. Patrick's Day. So we
Okay.
were both pretty drunk and just like
Uh-huh.
met on a dance floor. We were both like dancing with somebody else and
Uh-huh.
just kind of met each other and she wrote her phone number on my arm and
Oh, wow.
it's
All
just
right.
such an interesting story.
So did you feel something right away like they talk about? Was it like love at first sight, or was it more like, hey, this chick's cool. She wrote her name on my arm. Maybe I'll give her a call sometime. What
Yeah,
was
like
it?
I was attracted to her, physically, obviously, because that's what happened. But then, we just
Sure.
spent a lot of time talking on the phone, and just she was just a person that I liked. We had a lot of, we had some similarities, but then also I think big traction was I could introduce her to things that she was not familiar with. Like we did a lot of traveling, and she just didn't do a lot of traveling before, so I could show her all these new places, all these fun things to do. So
Oh, okay.
kind of nice to kind of establish ourselves. And we'd broken up, at least once during that time, and still got back together. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I too. We did that too. Broke up and then got back together. But I think
yeah,
that's just part of being young and
yeah,
wild. Uh,
yeah.
okay. And you have, how long have you been married now?
25 years.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
so we've been.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
together for 29 years. So yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
And you have two kids?
Yeah, so I have a daughter, Bella, and my son Angelo. So my Bella, she just graduated from Cal Poly with her master's, and so she's got a
Wow.
teaching job now at Cal Poly. So
So she's smarter than all of us.
man, dude. So yeah, it was funny. I was telling someone the other day, and I think I might talk to you about it, but it's like, it's like your friend does something really good and you're super proud of them. Hey, that's great. But like when your kids accomplish something
Oh, dude.
like that, dude, the
Yeah.
feel you can't even describe that feeling of like
Right.
how good you feel about for somebody else, right?
Hmm.
So that was a huge moment to watch her.
That's
We watched her
awesome.
defend her thesis, and it's just like it's like a foreign language, but yeah, still.
Yeah. What was the thesis?
It was about how she can condense like a photograph, to like it's all these zeros and ones and how they can take out certain things to still keep an image where you can see it clearly or still looks very good, but you've downsized the data so you can transfer it easier. Uh,
Okay.
that's kind of the gist of it. I'm sure there was more of it. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yowza. Okay.
yeah,
Well, and then and so you'd have to defend it, is that right? So she had to defend
yes.
it. So
So
someone's poking
she's like
holes in
talking
it.
about it, and there's all these professors there, and
Hmm.
then people are asking questions, and then but they just kind of drill down on her, like,
Yeah,
what about this and what about that? So uh, yeah,
man,
it was
very
super
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a moment.
Yeah, no, we're super
Yeah.
proud, and she's living in San Luis Obispo with a roommate, and so
What's she looking to do?
she just wants to teach math. She wants to teach college level. So
Oh, okay.
she doesn't
Become a
want to teach like high
professor.
school. Yeah, she wants to be a professor. So
Okay. Wow.
that's what she's doing. So
Yeah, very cool.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, how about your son? How old is he and what's he doing?
So Angelo is 20, and Angelo is going to Southern Oregon University,
Well,
and yeah, he's just kind of figuring his way out. He's he was part of one of those COVID kids in high
hmm.
school, so didn't have the really best of time. Took a year off, and it's just another again. It's like we watching your kids kind of grow and figure life out, right?
Yeah,
It's scary a little bit, to watch them go, but
sure.
it's also very rewarding to have them figure
Well,
it out.
I mean, he took a year off and then still went to school because usually I'm gonna take a year off and then that's it for school,
That's right.
usually, right?
That's me. I took a year off, and
Right, me too. What a long year it's been.
exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, well, that's a success in and of itself, right? You got this young person that's trying to figure things out. They want to take time off. You want to support them, but you also want to get them off to school too.
Right, right.
So, yeah, mission accomplished. Nice work.
Yeah, yeah, and that
Yeah.
whatever he does with school, it's fine.
Yeah. Does
It
he
doesn't.
have any particular direction or interest with the school, or is it more like, oh, I'm going to go and just kind of figure out, see where the academics
I
take
think at
me?
first it was just kind of figure it out, but now I think he's locking in on computer science, so he's
Oh,
taking a lot of classes that are geared that way, and
yeah.
his generation where computers are
Yeah, it's a
kind of the
great
norm.
field,
Yeah, so
right?
yeah, no, we're proud of him.
Yeah, that's cool. Right on. Okay, so what else you got going on? So you're not totally retired.
No, because I got a kid in college, and
Hmm.
that's not cheap. So
You got
we
one
want
out and then the other one goes in.
yeah, exactly. So we have
Good
one more.
timing.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, timing was good. We could bounce both at the same time for a little bit. But yeah, we just, I want to work right now just to kind of help see him through. And
Hmm.
but once both kids are off payroll completely, then life will be
Maybe you can explore full retirement at that point.
exactly. That's what we're hoping for. So
Yeah,
yeah.
nice. All right, so what are you doing with yourself?
So right now I'm doing a little bit of online sales for
Hmm.
wrench science.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, so that's been interesting, but it's nice because it allows me to be at home,
yeah,
and I can still really enjoy still talking and selling bikes. It's really fun to talk to people about new bikes, and Wrench Science, they've got a lot of good tools available for us to really help dial a customer in on fit. And I know
mhm,
that's kind of a big issue when you're talking about online sales, right? It's like,
for sure.
how do you get somebody fit to a bike? So, Tim's done a good job of having all these multiple tools that we can use to talk to customers, and really kind of dial in a fit, especially when you're talking about, ten or $15,000 bikes. It's like
Right.
you have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to talk to a customer, so
Yeah. Is
yeah.
that kind of the market for wrench science, just in general, like 10 to $15,000 bikes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've seen as low as like 8, but I think, a lot of them are
Okay.
between like 10 and 15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. They're still
That's
out there.
cool.
They're
That's
still out
cool.
there. Yeah.
Well, and I know that was a big focus for you at Eden was, and obviously growing up racing. I mean, we love this stuff, right? We're junkies.
Yeah.
So it's got to be cool to just be in that world where you're not dealing with the walled baskets and the fenders. You're dealing with, you know, the Campy or the Axis group or whatever it is,
Yeah,
DI2, and somebody that's, really looking to for this elite esoteric stuff,
yeah,
That's
yeah. It's
that's
like it's all these dream bikes, right?
yeah,
Colomagos and Pinarellos and Envies and yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's nice to have those tools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. All right, and then let's talk. So, are you following like professional bike racing at all? Do you pay attention to World Tour stuff or mountain biking, or I mean, do you have any interest like that?
So I'm starting to kind of get it back. I definitely kind of maybe lost a little bit of luster for it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
towards the closing years of me owning Eden bicycles.
All right.
You just get so entrenched with it. You're like, oh, I'm just sick of the bikes.
Right. Right. I just want to go somewhere where I don't think about it for a minute.
Yeah, but like I
Yeah.
said, now it feels like now it's like you can enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
because you want to versus like you're being forced to. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like one of my coworkers, he's based in Switzerland
Oh, yeah.
right
Nice.
now. He's going to school, so he was at the Worlds and got
Oh,
some
man.
photos, got some
Yeah.
videos. Yeah, he was sharing that with us.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's a golden age for cycling. I mean, man, it's so fun when you really immerse yourself in it, all the different personalities and it's so different. This era is so different. The athletes, they're still very competitive. There's a competitive fire there, but the sportsmanship and the camaraderie amongst the athletes is a lot different than what like when we grew up, Lance and Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault,
right.
all that friction and everything, teammates fighting with each other and all that. There's still some of that. There is still
Yeah,
some of that for sure. But it's like the people at the top of the sport are just really gracious. And I don't know, it's just really cool to see. And it's easy to root for people like that.
yeah. The
Yeah.
atmosphere definitely feels different. Like I mean, of course, like during like if you look back at like the Lance era, right? It was like
Yeah.
especially as an American, right? You had something to root for. It was exciting. It's a sport
Yeah.
we were never that good at, as a
Yeah.
country. And then we were just dominating it.
Right.
But then, it just the fallout wasn't that great, So it's nice to see, this younger group of people, and there's like not a team like a Lance team that's just kind of like over dominating everything.
Right, right. Well, I mean, you can make a case, Tade and Jumbo Visma. I mean, geez, they're so loaded with all the athletes they have on their squad. But yeah, it's just different. It's cool. I
Feels
feel like
different.
it's evolved,
Yeah, yeah,
the sport's evolved. And one of the other things that's been really great to see is the women finally really getting recognition and getting the airtime and like the Tour de France and like the women's world uh road race was, I mean, so exciting the last and yeah, I'm all in on the women's stuff, and it's
yeah.
just cool to see it finally getting its due.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
women's cycling for sure. I mean, it's, having seen it back in the 80s to where it is now, it's great to see it gets so much more recognition and opened up to more athletes and become so much
yeah,
more competitive.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I do feel like you know, it's not just, I don't know. I posted something recently. It was this woman. She said it's not a DEI initiative. The stories are compelling. The competition is fierce, and it's a sport product that stands on its own merit. It's not a
mhm,
DEI project. And I really agree with that.
yeah,
It is very exciting. And anyway, so it's cool. And more athletes. It's like a real potentially viable career path for somebody.
right,
Whereas it
right,
hadn't been that in the past, and now it is. So. And we're seeing something similar with the WNBA right now, where the WNBA, it was kind of, I don't know, people made jokes about it for all those years, that the NBA was just funding it and the arenas were not filling up or whatever. And now, there's this new gal, a couple new rookies that are fantastic, and it's got all this excitement. And so, yeah, it's just cool to see women in sport and to see how it's growing and if you're got a daughter or a sister or whatever,
Yeah.
it's just really
Well,
cool that they have something like that to aspire to.
yeah, I think it's great to have it. Something that will inspire younger athletes, younger women to, you know, pursue something, especially in athletics, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I know you got to get cracking here. Is there is there anything that that you would like to see from the Cycle Jerks, the two of us going forward? You got anything you want to
Just looking forward to talking to more industry people,
hmm
the different perspectives of different people, all the different facets of the industry, right? Because it's not just necessarily maybe riders, but it's the
right,
people behind the scenes. And
definitely.
I know you and I spoke about some people of interest, and so
Yep.
I'm excited to hear, different stories of how people evolved and came, how cycling has just been a part of their lives. Because I think that's something that's special to you and I, right? It's made us who we are. It's brought us to where we are, and
Yeah.
we've established so many friendships, all from the bike world.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we don't have a guest for next week yet, but we will have one.
All right, let's.
I got a couple of
I'll
things I'm working on, so
yeah, good.
yeah.
I'll throw you some contacts too.
All right. Yeah. Between the two of us, hopefully we can add to it. And I know Dave is still interested in helping out too in terms of rounding up people for the podcast. And
Oh, good,
uh,
good, good.
yeah, and I know the Mountain Challenge is coming up
Yeah,
this weekend, and I'm working on trying to get one of those guys to come on and just give us, the pre-reg is actually it's over now. I think Sunday was the last day of pre-reg, but they you can still sign up day of the event, and so we'll try to get somebody on here that'll have all the details, for that great event.
yeah.
When was the last time you did the Mountain Challenge?
Oh my gosh, man. The last time I did the mountain challenge was probably like 91.
Mhm. Yowza.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship with that hill, man. I just,
Uh-huh. It's brutal.
it is brutal. Like the fastest I've done it's like a little under 52 minutes, but
That's crazy fast.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a different animal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Well, I never eclipsed anywhere near that. Yeah, I'm like 56 minutes, was my best in 2017. But I
Okay.
was pretty old then, you know. When I was young, I didn't care about it. I was a BMX kid and I did it just like completely like on a borrowed road bike, and I did it in
Right.
58 minutes, you
Right.
know, with no training really to speak of,
Yeah.
and then as an old person, I could never beat that time for the
Yeah.
longest time, it took years. And but then yeah, so now I honestly haven't really gone full gas up it for a couple years, but it'd be interesting to see what it would do.
Yeah, it's a whole mental thing too. And like I know like when I did my best time, it was like, 53:39. I think
Hmm.
I had like a 22 tooth cog was like the lowest one I had in the back.
Oh my gosh.
But that was just what we rode back
Right?
then, like
Yeah.
compact gearing, what?
Peddling squares, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting with the gearing and how that's all exploded now. I mean,
Yeah.
just the standard road group now, you can get a 36 on, you know. That's wild,
Yeah,
you know?
right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, all right, Chris. Well, I'm looking forward to these. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked together for a long time, and
Yeah.
certainly always appreciated and respected our relationship at the highest level. And this is a new chapter for us, and I'm
Yeah.
excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing some good times with you guys. And yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap it up for this episode, and we'll see you next week with a new guest.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.